Welcome to Locality's Making Bank podcast, where we continue our exploration of South Florida's entrepreneurial landscape with host Keith Costello, co-founder and CEO of Locality Bank. Sit back, relax, and let South Florida visionaries guide you on an entrepreneurial journey from tribulation to triumph, sharing the very stories that have shaped them.
Brad Tuckman, welcome to Locality Bank's Making Bank podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, really excited to have you here. We had, your partner Lil on from Zendu not too long ago, and she was mentioning you, and I said, we really got to get Brad on here. So
I'll try to do my best because Lil's pretty outgoing. So,
but anyway, so just to start off. Tell us about where you grew up and, what I found with a lot of the entrepreneurs that I talk with, they have interesting family stories. Like there's something happened or, in the family dynamic that created this entrepreneurial drive. Tell me about your family and growing up. And
yeah, it's funny you say that because we are the sum of, I guess, our parts, right? So New York originally, Bronx, but then I didn't really grow up in the Bronx. We moved to the burbs. Spent my early years there until I went to college. My father was a math teacher, and he had me doing math on a pet computer. I don't know if you remember those. When I was like 6, I think, I was doing high school math. He was making me do it, which paid off. And my mom eventually ran like these arcade amusement park places back in the day when arcades were new and hip and cool or bad to go to. So I grew up in a math world and an arcade world. Wow. And I think that kind of led to everything, the beginning of everything for me, from being like, doing basic math and spreadsheets to actually seeing how to, I guess, bust your butt to run a business that may not be traditional.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I've known you for a while. I always see you as like a creative type, which you don't necessarily associate with math.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's even though my old business, obviously I was a photographer. And if I go back one more step, my grandfather was actually a photographer. And one of my earliest memories was sitting in the dark room in the Bronx, watching a print come alive in chemistry. And it might be my earliest memory. Wow. So whether it happened for a reason or not, but I eventually became a photographer. And then I had studios all over the world. So I was always creative. But a lot of my clients often said I was a CPA or a CFO disguised as a creative. So I love numbers, but I'm still a creative person.
So as you grew up, what was your, did you go to college? Did you go to right into a career? What'd you do?
So I went to school, RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology.
Great school, yeah.
So I went for photography.
Yep.
I think the world made fun of me. Hey, you're going to go become a photographer. Good luck, Brad.
My parents. Kodak, in Rochester?
Kodak was there. And when we went there, film was still alive. But it was the beginning of the downfall of it, actually. So I went there when it was still the heyday of Rochester, or the winding down of it, I would say. But yeah, so Rochester, 4 years, did my photo degree there. But at the same time, I worked in food service there to make do. I couldn't live otherwise,
right.
So I was working 40 hours a week and going to school also.
Wow.
And back then, and that's actually how I learned Excel, was in the restaurant. I would used to have to do all of the scheduling or the ordering or whatever like that. And I learned a basic Excel.
What restaurant were you working at?
It was on campus, actually.
The campus.
Yeah, so it was the campus. It was called Nathaniel's, and in the corner store. So
wow.
I became a student manager. I got an extra like 30 cents an hour. It was great.
Awesome. So you get that degree, mm-hmm. and then what does that lead to? What's your early career look like?
So I was going to school for photography. Early on, I thought I was going to be a photojournalist, and I realized that was not happening when I would go to like protests, and I found myself across the street with a long lens. I did not want to do that. So I found advertising and for the most part, more product photography at the time. And back then, digital photography was coming out. So my whole career got started at that point because one of my professors recommended me for an internship in New York City. But the truth be told, he mixed me up with another kid. So my entire career, I'm sitting here today with you because one of my professors mixed me up with someone and recommended me to intern, which would be for a digital photography studio, which was the second digital camera in New York City. And I didn't know anything about it. I had a book underneath my desk, and I was a chapter ahead of everybody, pretty much. So my entire career literally got started by accident.
The other, just while we're talking about digital photography, the interesting thing is, I guess Kodak developed it, right? And they got put out of business by it.
Kodak developed it and killed it for years.
Yeah.
So, and then they missed the boat completely. Film's making a comeback, hardcore people who like it.
Yeah.
You know, that was, I mean, we all can look back and see what mistakes we've made. I think Kodak can look back at a few they made.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting though, that the film is coming back. It's kind of like vinyl records. Like we kind of like, I don't know, like
old school, baby. It's good, right?
The more digital we get, the more we crave substance, I guess. Right?
Yeah. It's, you know, it's something about taking a moment and listening to it, right? I think people are used to like my kids, I thought they would like these speakers I put in their room. They just listen to music on their phone. They don't even care about the quality anymore. Whereas us, I think we actually appreciate the nuance. But I think, you know, maybe one day when I get older, they'll appreciate nuance.
So you're in New York City, you're working at this digital photography studio. Where's it go from there? So
again, things happen for sometimes luck. So when I was in there, it was brand new. Like digital photography was just new. It was, you know, it was back in 1990, let's say 94. And people would just walk in the studio. They were so excited to see what digital photography was. And I would just meet people all summer long. And some of those people became my early clients when I eventually built my business, my relationships. And actually, I made it to Florida because someone locally here walked into the studio and said, hey, would you ever consider moving to Florida? Because we're building a digital studio. And at the time they said, well, we don't really want to move people down from New York because Florida's different. And let's face it, 95, Florida was very different than today. Yeah. And eventually when I was getting closer to graduation, I reached out to them. I said, hey, I'm looking to move. I want a job. And so 3 days after I graduated college, I was down here in Fort Lauderdale running a digital photography studio right out of college.
Wow.
So I had no business being a photographer. And if I back it up again, I was in an internship that I had no business having, randomly meet people, and that became my career. So I came down here and built a photo studio. I was there a couple of years. And I took it from in 95 to 97, I took it from $0 to about 3 million a year. And then I kind of left on my own. So from there.
And that was when you decided to do your own thing?
Yeah.
And how did that, how'd you decide to take that initial entrepreneurial plunge?
So the beauty is when you're young, you don't think, right? Naivete is good, right?
Yeah.
You're like, you know, and if someone makes you annoyed or you think you can do better, you just do it. You don't think about the ramifications. Oh, I have a family or I have to make bills pay or whatever.
Did you have a family then?
At the time I was married. Yeah. My wife, Shona. And you know, at the time I grew this business, right? And I was getting paid well back then. So I'll never forget. I asked the boss, I said, hey, can I get a raise? And he's like, I already gave you a couple. I pay you really well. I go, I know, but I'm doing a couple million a year now. And he's like, you're not worth it. So literally the next day, I had an intern who happened to have some money, and I said, "Hey, do you want to get in a business together?" And we struck a deal. And the next day, I walked in and I said, "Hey, dude, give him notice." And I said, "But at the time,
did you tell him he isn't worth it, or no?"
You know, he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you told me I'm not worth it." You know, he's like, "Well, you know, I can hire other people." I said, "Well, you could now," and I was really respectful about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a non-compete, and I said to the guy at the time, I said, "Listen, I'm not going to take any clients. I'm just going to go on my own." I said, "If they call me, I'll take the business. I'm not calling anyone." And then I put 3 or 4 clients that were the big ones on that list. I said, I won't do their business at all. And I don't know why. I was too nice, you know, and I kept my word. And so I picked up a couple clients right away, the ones that left. And I stayed away from the big ones. And then I said, for 2 years, I wouldn't do it. 2 years and a day. I went to an event. I bumped into people. Sports Authority was the big client. And I walked into an event, met a bunch of people there, and they're like, "Can we work with you?" I'm like, "Actually, as of yesterday, you could." And next thing you know, I was doing their business.
Yeah.
And soon enough, I had 30 employees working that account.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so explain that business to people who don't understand what you were doing exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, back at that time was Sunday circulars, right? Everything that you would get in an ad would come in a Sunday newspaper. And so we were creating all the content for Sunday circulars. That was the lifeline of all retail.
So photography of all, like, let's say for Sports Authority, it would be sporting goods, and you'd have pictures of
this bottle of water.
Okay.
You know, anything. Yeah. So back then, that's when they were going from drawings to photos of shoes. So I would shoot 700 shoes at a time. You would name it, we'd shoot it. And digital photography allowed you to do it. It was lower cost. And so that next thing you know, that allowed me to start, you know, build a much bigger business. I was doing a couple million a year at that time.
About what year was that?
It was 1999.
Wow. And that was One Create? Or
the names changed over the years.
Okay.
I had different partners at different times.
Okay.
So
All right.
Studio FX, actually.
Okay. All right.
So I had that for a couple of years, and you learn early on. You make mistakes, right? So you get a big whale, and I've seen every business do this, including me. And you put all your eggs in one basket. And I put all my eggs in Sports Authority. We all know eventually Sports Authority merged with, I think, Gart's, I think it was, out in Colorado, and left. So next thing you know, I had no clients.
Wow.
So I picked up Office Depot at that time. And then guess what? I learned a little bit. So Office Depot was like a lot of my business, but not all of it. And then eventually Office Depot, things change and you realize you have to evolve your business. And over time, that drove me to not fail. So I started putting sales teams in place. I started putting technology in place. I started opening other offices. And next thing you know, I had offices all over the country.
So sounds easy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It was an overnight success.
Yeah. So tell us, what were some of the hardest things you faced because you scaled it up from the beginning as you scaled? What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced other than you already mentioned losing some big clients?
Yeah.
What else?
Well, first of all, when you lose, you have to decide, are you going to fire everybody or keep paying them? So I went for about 12 months. I didn't pay myself and just lived off the credit cards for 12 months, made sure I kept all my staff, made sure I kept everything else. And I worked my butt off. I went to every meeting I possibly could, try to meet anybody I could, offered them to do the work. I started doing photography again. I got an agent so I can start shooting. And I was doing jobs around the country so I can keep paying my employees.
So you tried not to lay anybody off with the result. That's a good lesson right there for people.
Yeah.
So you were loyal to the people who are working with you.
Yeah. And you look back and I think through the years of being in business, the hardest thing for me has always been knowing that the people who work for me, I'm responsible for, in essence, for their livelihood, for them to earn a living, for their family, for them to eat. And that was always a lot of pressure on me. So that's something that one of the reasons over the years, as the business scaled, we were up, I think I was up to like 1,200 employees or something like that at one point, plus a couple thousand freelancers. So the burden of me back then with losing a client, I didn't want to have to fire 30 people because we had large clients. And that was always very taxing on me.
Sure.
So that's one of the things I've learned is you have to be loyal, but you also sometimes have to, I don't have the ability to do it, but you have to differentiate loyalty from, I'll say from survival at times.
Yeah. So you're having some good success, and did you have to go out? So I don't understand your business entirely. So
most people don't. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of capital expenditures or anything. It's mostly, or
there wasn't or wasn't, depends, right? Like the project we'll talk about, the pickleball, that's capital expense, right? But back then, like a typical photography set, the camera was $40,000. Now that camera's $2,000, $3,000. Right. So you had $40,000 for a camera. Each power pack for the lights was like $5,000 or $6,000. So you're $100,000 just to get going, which back then was an enormous amount for me. You take light leases out, you take loans out. I got scammed from a leasing company once. They took my deposits. It was fake. And the next thing you know, the FBI was involved.
In Fort Lauderdale? I can't believe it.
Dude, crooks everywhere. So, you learn from these things, and you realize that there's bad people out there.
So from as far as getting through those, financing. So did you bring partners? You did some.
So the first partner I had,
the
first partner I had, fortunately it worked out and we were able to do the financing with them, with him. His name is John. And in the end, we just parted ways eventually. It was great to do it at the time.
Yeah.
And then I went on my own for years. And I put I kind of always had like, not a chip on my shoulder, but I was doing it myself. I didn't have any mentors. I just did it. And I said, I'm going to do this. And I kind of paved the path ahead of me. Looking back, I wish I could do that a little differently. I wish I had more people I can talk with, but I kind of insulated myself because people didn't understand what I did. Just getting a lease for a building, they didn't understand why I would need 60,000 square feet. What are you doing? Nobody understood what we did. And it was hard. Even my family didn't understand what I did, So, I'm like, listen, you just take pictures? I'm like, no, we literally drive the strategic content creation for brands. And then back then it was the Sunday circulars, eventually became e-commerce. Nowadays people get content matters.
Right.
When I started using the word content, nobody knew what I meant. They're like, it's a photo? I go, no, we're creating content. What does that mean? I'm like, well, it's all things visual or words, content. And people didn't get it until social media came out.
Right. Now everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Right?
So nobody understood what we did. Basically, I had technology that had allowed us to tie into the product management systems from all the brands. So we would know all the products that were being created 6 months in advance because we actually helped them remove, I'll say, duplicity in what they thought might be coming from China or Turkey or wherever. And then that allowed us to have all the product information. So then we would be able to create content faster and then use that. Everything became metadata. And we were able to create all that and turn around content and have it live on our website within a day or two. So speed to market. So we became basically a supply chain for content creation.
And as you became more and more successful, building your business, it's interesting. Why you mentioned you had a chip on your shoulder. Why do you think you had a chip on your shoulder?
My entire life, people have kind of said that's silly or it can't be done, and and that just gives me more power. Like that, I get pig-headed, and I'm like, I'm doing it on my own. And I had a hard time taking a breath to explain it properly to people. But back then, I was a little ahead of the time always. And therefore, people didn't understand it. So rather than me taking a breath and keeping explaining it to everybody, I just, kept my ears to the ground, my nose to the ground, whatever, and just kept moving forward.
Interesting. And because you were you're really like a pioneer in this business, you were one of the...
Yeah, I don't like to say that. I mean, I was one of the first people to do... I mean, I wasn't the only one. People were doing it.
But you were early on. So in terms of being, having a mentor, it's like you're saying, who are you going to go to? Nobody had done
It was tough. Yeah.
What you did.
Yeah. And I did a lot of little things that came together as one. There was one time someone actually said I was the Death Star, and I was offended, but then I kind of loved it at the same time because, what happened was I was able to scale and win business.
Yeah.
But I never looked at it as someone else was losing business. I always looked at it as I was winning and I was employing more people. But often I did hire some people that lost the business too. Sometimes I would hire them, but I never looked at it from that other point of view that I was kind of becoming that bigger entity because I always looked ahead of me and I thought who was ahead of me and I wanted to beat them. So I was competitive. So I never looked back. I just looked forward. But eventually when you become one of the bigger guys, you realize you have to look back because now there's someone coming after you.
Yeah. There's that other guy graduating from some school and getting an internship and
has a different way of looking at it, a different relationship or whatever. And it's every business is about your relationships. So then you have to hire the right people. And I had offices all over the world in the end. So I had to make sure I had the right people in the right cities that could identify problems well in advance before they would happen.
So your company grew pretty big. Obviously you had offices all over the world. How was that to go from, startup to that level of scale?
It's not easy. So on my own, when it was before I got involved in other mergers and acquisitions, I think I grew to like 4 or 5 cities. And then what happened then, I was like, all right, what's next? All right, I'm going to go to New York next. I was always in the secondary markets. I chose to avoid the primary markets. And I went after I'll say tier 2 clients that weren't as sexy because less people called them. So eventually I was going to go to New York and I'm like, oh my God, even though I'm from New York, I didn't even understand the market in a way, just rent. It was like 5 times, 8 times what it is here. I'm complaining about $8 a foot back then.
Right.
And it was like 50 to 70 in New York. So I approached my number one competitor and I said, hey guys, maybe we just merge. Let's just get together. And I literally just walked into their office one day. I set up a meeting and I said, why don't we do that? I'm going to come to New York. It's silly for us to compete. And at the time, we both thought we were really competing with each other. And we only had $100,000 overlap in clients out of, let's say, 60, 80 million. I don't remember. So we really weren't competitors. We were in the same space. So I got them to merge. And what we did is we consummated at a private equity transaction. So we went in 50-50. We went and brought private equity in. We all took money off the table, and we all rolled from there. Mm-hmm. And then we went on that private equity path. And
what year was that you combined?
Let me see, 5, 7, 12. I don't know, probably like 12 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
Let's do the math.
I think that was right around when I met you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I swung big. I knew I was buying land. I was going to build a house. And then I was in a boat one day with my father-in-law. And he's like, Brad, why are you going to build on that land? You should buy the one next to it, which is like 6 times the size. It's a better investment. Why don't you do that? You're selling the business. I'm like, you're right. I'm going to do that. So at the time I was like, definitely doing it. And I approached you at the time to finance it. because I knew my transaction was happening. What I didn't realize was that transaction would be delayed 6 months or a year, and I put myself in a bind. So I thank you for giving me the loan years ago.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
That's right. It worked out. But I paid you back with interest, obviously.
Absolutely.
And we're still friends.
We are. So you continue to do interesting things like we mentioned, so what do you, just back up for a minute. So you're involved obviously in Zendu. You want to talk about that and maybe some of the other things, and then we'll get into the fort.
Yeah. So anyway, private equity runs its course. So it's time to sell the business. And unfortunately we were selling it right around COVID. So we went from 7 buyers to like just a couple. And our valuation changed drastically because nobody knew what was coming with, especially around product and COVID and all that. So our exit wasn't what we anticipated, but I was still fine, I was ready to move on anyway.
Nobody needs to cry for Brad.
No, please don't.
Just to be clear.
No, but so at the time I was locked down though. I had a non-compete that I was only allowed to consult for like random things, and the dollar amount was so low, I couldn't do anything. So I was not allowed to work. I want to say it was 3 years. I was locked down. Unfortunately, COVID came, so it made it a little bit easier not to work, but I was still losing my mind. And I started playing pickleball. And at the same time, I was also working with Lillian at Zendu. So I met Lillian. She came through my business once through an EO group, and I had no idea what EO was because, like I told you, I did everything on my own.
Yeah. And
I met her, and I was like, oh my God, this woman. Like 6 people came. I'm like, either she's the biggest BS artist or she knows her business better than anyone. And so we became friendly, and I eventually invested in her business and the board, and I drove the strategy for getting it to market.
And you've done a commercial too, which,
Yes,
I am the guy who watches CNBC.
I am the guy on TV. So I had that. I got, there was another business I was involved in called Johnny O. It's a men's apparel. That's doing really well. And then other than that, I was kind of getting back to life. I was, working with my business for so many years. I had no time for friends. I was there for family, but I wasn't always mentally there. And so I took that time to be with my family. So COVID, bad and good. The good was I got time with my family.
And you've got small children, right?
They're getting older now. Yeah. So my son's 16, my daughter's 18 now.
Okay. Wow.
But and I was driving them to school. So I got to the point where I'd drive them to school every morning. I'd go to Starbucks for 2 hours. I'd work, figure out what's next. I'd go to Michael's to get some art supplies. I'd go to Costco, come home, pick them up. I became that dad, and I was loving it because I was having that moment to breathe and figure myself out. But at the same time, I was also looking back in a big depression because I only had my business, my life, my family is most important, but my business was so important to me. It was like my other child.
Yeah.
And I didn't have it anymore. So I had money in the bank, but I didn't have, and I never really finished everything I wanted to do with that business. So I was always felt like I lost out. And it took me a couple of years to get beyond that. By just doing random things, tipping up a website to learn how to use Shopify. I was doing things to figure out, I didn't know what next was. And then I started playing pickleball, and I started playing every day. I realized suddenly I had friends, and all these years I just worked, and I'm like, this sport's amazing. I have friends. I don't care what they do. There's no business here. Everybody's the same. And I find out later on, there are people you're playing with that are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and guy who's around the street who you don't care. He's just who he is. And I said, my God, my non-compete, I can actually do this. So I started looking for land to build a pickleball club. And as you know, as a banker, land's not cheap in Florida, and it's hard to find. And when you find something, do you really want to drive there? And so that was not working. So I eventually approached the city, and I got a public-private partnership through, which was not easy. And then now we have the pickleball place.
Well, it's not that eeasy. So tell us.
We don't have enough time.
Now we have a pickleball place. Like, boom. So you have partners.
Yeah,
I guess
there's about 5 of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you found this. You came up with the idea. It's basically stadium.
Yeah. So we built the world's first pickleball stadium. I think we're working on getting a Guinness book right now. And it's a good thing, but I always go big or go home, right? So when we were doing this, I could have gotten a warehouse, put 12 courts in, put a little bar in, and had a little business. And I'm like, well, is it really worth it? For me, I can't help it. I want to build a business the best it could be. And for me, I felt South Florida, with the amount of people playing, the fact that we are, I'll say, a tourist destination, pickleball in Florida is 2x the average use compared to the rest of the US. So the math, you start running through the data and you start running through the math, there's risk in everything, but the data is showing, hey, this is a real business. You should, double down and go big. So we eventually built 43 courts with the stadium. We have like 5 businesses in one there. It's
you have a restaurant.
We got Pro Shop. Then we have the Pickleball Club. Then we have a PT center that's opening because everybody gets hurt playing pickleball. So we might as well take care of you. We have a restaurant opening, an event center. We have a lake with canoes, kayaks, paddleboards, event business.
And where is it? Tell everybody.
It's right next to the Fort Lauderdale Airport. So anytime you're in Fort Lauderdale, come down and play some pickleball.
So Snyder
Park. Yeah. So it's the southwest corner of Snyder Park. Snyder Park's a beautiful park, but this part of the park was not beautiful. It was truck storage, seaweed storage, things like that. And so it took a lot of work to get across the finish line and a lot of baggage that I never expected once you go in the public sector. A lot of people that don't like projects that come through. And that was taxing for me emotionally and mentally. I'll say it's the same thing, but it was taxing on me for a couple of years to try to get the deal done with seeing my name on Nextdoor app or seeing my name everywhere with misinformation. So it was a lot for me to I just wanted to get into the pickleball business. I didn't realize what I was getting into. So.
No good deeds go unpunished.
Yeah, there's some truth to everything.
But you were doing something, I saw that area. You took me out there before you developed it. I mean, it was an eyesore.
Yeah, it was a dump.
And I mean, what so for anybody to have, and I'm getting on my soapbox here a little bit, but no, for anybody to object to that, it's insanity. But it just shows you, unfortunately, the times we're in where somebody's going to object to anything that anybody tries to do.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this city, since I moved down here in 95, has drastically changed. Right. So, and it's becoming a bigger city. Yeah. I say we're suburbia Miami, but we're becoming our own little thing here. So most people were against it. Again, they might've been longtime Floridians and wish it was 60 years ago. And I respect that. I really do. At the same time, it becomes political. People start using it for politics and elections, and misinformation gets out. Social media posts go out that are fake, and then they get deleted, and they start leading people down the path. And there's always a little root of truth to all news. It's just a matter of how you frame it. So did we take the park? Yeah. Are we paying for it? Yeah. Did we destroy the park? No. Did we knock down a couple of trees? Yes. Were they the beautiful big giant trees that are around the park? Not at all. So, but you can paint that picture any way you want.
Right.
And in the end, I become this big, nasty developer. I'm not a developer, even though I was developing this project. And in the end, I got to go home, look at my kids and my wife and myself in the mirror. And no, I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
So what we were doing, really was for the greater good. And I love going to the club now. I get to see people playing pickleball. And a few weeks ago, I was the happiest I've been. I saw guys playing backgammon at the bar. To me, that said, we did it. Because people aren't just playing pickleball. They're seeing this now as their third place, which is the office work, their home, and somewhere to go hang out. So that to me was it made it worth it just that day seeing some dudes play backgammon.
So it becomes like a whole social area where people go for not just pickleball, but to hang out with their friends and do lots of different things.
That's what we built it for.
Yeah.
I mean, from a business perspective, it's hard to make money in just pickleball.
Yeah.
So you can only charge enough court time, and construction costs are ridiculous, especially with the, hurricane preparedness stuff.
Yeah.
So in the end, if we're not doing all these other things, it's hard to turn into a good business.
Sure. So have you had tournaments? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we've had it. Yeah. So we opened to a tournament.
Okay.
What the hell were we thinking? So we opened to one, and then we're also the home of the APP Tour, which is the Association of Pickleball Players. So one of the pro tours, there's 2 of them, made their home there. So we are literally, I'll say we have top tier programming, top tier talent. And then we have a couple of tournaments a year that are national televised. They're on, whether it's ESPN, CBS Sports. So we're putting, Fort Lauderdale on a map for that. And then just announced is in October, ironically during the boat show this year, but it's not a problem. We can do 2 things at once in the city. We're holding the Pickleball World Cup. And that's basically a precursor to pickleball becoming in the Olympics. So between 40 and 60 countries right now are slated to come. We think it's going to be towards 60. And they're coming to play pickleball in a world championship.
That's awesome.
A team sport. So thousands of people are going to come. We're going to expect enormous amount of people over a 6-day period. And it'll be like a celebration of pickleball and countries. It's literally going to be like the soccer, or football World Cup. So it's going to be awesome.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
that's exciting to hear. And, congrats on all that. I mean, that's incredible what you've done out there. So
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, listen, we all believe our own BS a little bit, and it's how we get where we're going.
Yeah.
So suddenly when things actually happen and you're like, oh my God, I actually forecasted this and it actually happened. Well, how's that happening? So I'm really thrilled to see that because, the people bringing it in, they're really all about doing good for the world and doing good for the sport and what the sport means. So to have them come and choose us, we're going to have a multi-year deal. So, to give you an idea, I think we're expecting over 10,000 room nights, hotel room nights for that event.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
from a tourism economic impact, I'm proud because I promised the city we would be delivering, and we're delivering first year.
Good. That's great to hear. So what lessons do you have? You've been at a really very successful career, from starting out to, the business that you built, and now you're starting another one. So kind of what advice do you have to people who are building a business or thinking about building?
Don't do what you think is going to make money. Do what you love to do, or do what you like to do at least. My son keeps asking me, Dad, I got to think what I'm doing in the future. What can I make a lot of money at? And I go, can you do what you like to do? He goes, I just want to make money. I said, yeah, no, but figure out what you like to do. So I think you got to figure out what you love to do. You got to have a passion for it. Otherwise it doesn't come through. Yeah. So if you want to raise money, you have no passion for it. And then if you don't have a passion for it, you're really not going to understand it to the end. Just like you love banking. That's what you've done since I've ever known you.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. So that's your passion. I think people have to understand is you can't just make a business because someone thought it's a good idea.
That's great advice. And we also know a lot of people who make a lot of money and are miserable.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't get me wrong. When you start making more money, it comes with more problems, right? So eventually my photography business became something I didn't enjoy anymore.
Yeah.
And so at that point, why are you doing it? And so you have to understand is, once you love something, it's either a hobby or a career. And sometimes it's better left as a hobby. And if you want to try to make it as a career, you will ruin it as a hobby. Right now, my pickleball game sucks because I'm working too much at the club. So it's okay.
That's interesting. Well, that's great advice. And so you've done a lot for the city. I mean, by putting the fort in Fort Lauderdale, I mean, that's an incredible addition to the city. So on behalf of, everybody here in Fort Lauderdale, thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you, but I don't see it that way. So I'm thankful we got the land. I'm thankful to do it. So for me, it's an issue. It's a good issue, but until I deliver exactly what I said I would to my partners, to everybody, to myself, then I won't be happy. So, but thank you.
Absolutely. So anything else you want to share before we go to the lightning round? Anything I didn't ask you that you wish I did?
No, I'm fine with whatever. Lightning round scares me. So let's see what we got. Let's go.
Okay, all right. Let's jump into the fear factor here, the lightning round. So what's your favorite book?
So I could be honest.
Sure.
Or I can lie.
Of course, be honest.
So Lil Roberts has a book that's dropping this week.
Really?
Yeah, small business book. So I suggest everybody reads that one.
All right, there we go.
I have it written down. I forgot. Sorry, Lil, but check Lil Roberts' book out. But I'm embarrassed to say and proud to say anything that's Idiot's Guide to book. I'm not a big reader.
Okay.
So I've been very successful. A lot of it's been intuition. A lot of it's in reading manuals, learning things. But when you have ADD, it's hard to sit and read a 300-page book. So move on. Next, that's not lightning, but let's go.
So how about a song that's like when you were needing to, when you're going out there to face like a really tough pickleball opponent?
Oh my God.
What's your rally song to go out there?
So I'd say two songs. One, my brother and I always make fun of each other because, let's face it, 80s, the music was 80s, right?
Yeah.
So we built a city on rock and roll. No, that's not my rally song, but I gotta laugh I gotta laugh anytime I hear that song. Mm-hmm. So that's always one, and I always get a good laugh and it makes me feel happy. Anything after that, anything Metallica. How do you not get riled up for that?
Yeah.
So
that I'll check that box.
I have Lil's book, Small Business Defined.
That's it. Lil Roberts. Small Business Defined by Lil Roberts.
Ryan, thank you.
Thank you for doing that research.
AI, are you intimidated?
Love it.
You love it.
Love
it. Awesome answer. Great. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
My father used to tell me, if you can't play good, you better look good. And that was for baseball, but I think that holds up in everything else, right? So you always got to do the right thing. You always got to look the part. So that's my answer to that one.
Good. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would that be?
Friends. No bullshit. For me, eating dinner, my father always gave me a hard time saying, why do you spend so much money eating dinner and these credit cards? I'm like, because it's memories. For me, I just like to sit and have fun with friends. So.
All right. So building on that question, what's your favorite local restaurant?
What kind of food?
You can name a couple if you want to.
So first, I'm very happy that Juan's or Christina Juan's just reopened. So I love Christina. My wife actually had our baby shower there.
Wow.
My daughter's from China. My son's from Korea. Okay. So we always did that.
Yeah.
After that, Catch and Cut. I like going there.
Yeah.
So, and there's some great wait staff too. I like there's a guy down there and he likes to give me a lot of shit. So I think it's always fun too. And the food's great. So
yeah, great choices. What's something you're grateful for today?
Luck, being in the right place, right time, being, again, mixed up with someone else. Don't get me wrong. Life's been hard too. I have had years and years that were difficult. I've had 4, 5, 6 years at a time that were just impossible. And, my wife and I always talk about that, like, oh, this was a good year, because there are times that's just how life is. So I'm grateful I've had way more good years than bad years, but the bad years make you tired. So.
And hopefully teach you a lesson in some way.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Who's someone you admire and why?
My wife. And that's for real, because she's a film producer, and that's and a writer and a director. That's the hardest business anybody can ever get into. And no matter who you are, at what level, it's just a difficult business because it's changing so fast. With streaming, what's hot, by the time you write a film, it's not interested. And the market changed. So I respect her just going through that grind. I don't know how she does it.
That's great. That would be mine too, I think. So you mentioned pickleball. We know you like pickleball. What other hobbies and what other things do you do to stay healthy?
Pickleball actually made me healthier. I'm down like 20 pounds.
Wow.
So I've eaten healthier. I've, everything else. So I've also gotten injured playing pickleball like people do. Hence why we have a PT clinic.
Yeah.
And sometimes injuries are good. I learned that I had to take better care of myself, and I take supplements. I made fun of everybody for years, and I feel the best I've ever felt. Hobby wise though, I actually love art still because of, the old days of being a photographer. And my daughter and I, that's something we always look at and do together. My son doesn't appreciate art, but he appreciates sports and food. So, for me, my hobbies is my family, honestly. It's my other thing.
Great. What's a travel destination that you have on your bucket list that you haven't been to yet but want to go?
So my bucket list or my wife's bucket list? Because I don't really get to go everywhere I want to go.
Oh, your wife's then. Yeah.
Well, my wife's, we're going to Switzerland this summer. But she's been there. But mine's, I want to go to Egypt. And I've never been there. I'm fascinated with the whole pyramid thing. But I'll probably be bored in 20 minutes, but I just want to go see it.
Yeah. I'd love to see the pyramids.
Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with you and, find out more about the fort? So it's playthefort.com. Playthefort.com. Okay.
And also that's our social media as well.
All right.
My email is simple, brad@playthefort.com. Email me. I'm super busy. It might take 2 or 3 emails, just to be honest. Don't put a long email. I won't read it. Get a quick subject line, 1 sentence.
I do remember that about you. So yeah.
Any long email?
No.
Like if I could put an entire email in the subject line, I'd be happy.
Yes.
So this way I don't have to open it up.
There you go. Well, listen, this has been great. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to seeing your success with the fort.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Locality's Making Bank podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch the latest episodes, and visit localitybank.com today to learn more about all the benefits of banking local.